In 1978, the Cohens moved to the Norfolk coast, which they already knew well. Three things alter in Alfred's work done in Norfolk through his last 2 decades. First of all, there's a new sense of time and change. He was struck by how the region seemed in a kind of time warp, as if 50 years behind the southeast. This lent his pictures a double layer of nostalgia. The quaint shop fronts and interiors were not just belated, they were now vanishing. It's as if Cohen is trying to catch England in the act of disappearing. He continued to paint subjects which had always interested him, like the Channel ports. When he painted this one in 1958, or the London docks in the early 1960s, the cranes and iron dock structures were modernity. The second thing that changed was that the thick impasto of his Channel cliffs and ports of the 1960s and 70s, sculpted with a palette knife, tends to give way to a flatter, more translucent brushwork. The colour is as vibrant as ever, but often more variegated. This is Wells Next the Sea, painted soon after they moved to Norfolk. It's just a couple of miles from the Cohens' house in Whiton. It was still a busy working port, with coasters loading and unloading. The light there is quite different to anywhere in the world, he said of the East Anglian coast. The viewpoint is the same, the transfiguring light of the sunset seen from out at sea, like a home that hasn't yet been reached. Here's Wells again, painted around 1991. But the industrial structures are no longer modern. They're survivals from an earlier era before container shipping made them uneconomical. The harbour was silting up and kept open more for pleasure boats than cargo ships. In 1991, having just turned 71, Cohen had an exhibition at the Fermoy Gallery in the King's Lynn Arts Centre. It announced an extraordinary creative reinvention during his last decade. The critic Tony Warner found the new work invigorating, describing how it, quote, glows with colour, there's an obvious joy in the visual world, each painting is carefully crafted. Layers of paint build up to an intricate pattern of complementary colours. The structures are worked out with an almost mathematical precision, each part firmly measured against the painting as a whole. The other change in Alfred Cohen's work then was that he painted more large pictures like this one, perhaps responding to the expansive skies and beaches of Norfolk, the sense of air and space as well as light. This is one of Alfred's last pictures of Wells. It must be the place he painted most while in Norfolk. It's a picturesque little port, and many people have painted it, but no one else saw it like this. He was conscious that the work he did in the 90s was likely to be what he jokingly described as his last phase, but this has extraordinary power and energy. In fact, he lived another 10 years, working until his last morning, but the encroaching dark here, the setting sun and those looming clouds perhaps intimate a sense of an ending. If so, I think it's a glorious one.